Nearly 5 years ago, the GTX 970 was released and it came in at a hard-hitting price of $329 USD. But it did have some controversy where it came out and there was only 3.5 gigabytes of RAM instead of the advertised 4. And in fact, it did technically have 4 gigabytes of RAM, but 512 megabytes of that VRAM was actually at a slower access speed than the other 3.5, hence the term 3.5 out of 4 for the rating system. Anyway guys, VRAM issues aside, today we are going to be testing out the GTX 970 in 2019 and seeing whether or not it can handle games at 1080p and if it's still a good buy if you're in the market for a graphics card and you don't mind buying a used GPU. So with that aside, let's get into it, but as with any used graphics card that comes through Tech Yes City, we're going to be giving this thing some Tech Yes lovin'.
A place where they told you what to chase, told you how to run the race. Every move was on the page, but I didn't like their way. Had to fight and misbehave, had to find a way to change, had to leave to find my way. Caught up in a daydream, I beat my mind up there almost daily. It's how I pass time, no opinions safely. It's how I understand what I want in this place, see. Cause everybody wanna tell you bad things, what could go wrong, what fame brings. But success is a finicky thing, and if you ain't sure, no, it'll never be. I don't wanna let myself down, myself down. I don't wanna let myself down, myself down.
So there it is guys, this thing now looks like brand new and it's time to put it on the test bench and test out 7 different titles plus a couple of synthetics. So here we are guys, the results are in and the GTX 970 actually impressed me a lot. For a graphics card that's about 4.5 years old, it actually did phenomenally well at 1080p. For instance, Apex Legends, a game which is very GPU dependent, scored some very good FPS figures on pretty much high settings where we got 73 average FPS, 1% low of 51, and then a 0.1% low of 44. So the 3.5 gigabytes of VRAM isn't really playing any hiccups at 1080p ultra settings. Moving over to a game like Rainbow Six Siege, if you're into some competitive multiplayer but you still like your eye candy, this game got 146 average FPS, 1080p ultra settings, and 102 minimum. So it's actually a very smooth graphics card while still getting high FPS at 1080p. Now moving over to Battlefield 5 Ultra, here we saw settings still going over 60 average FPS. The 1% and 0.1% lows did dip a little bit lower, but that's because it is a pretty intense game at 1080p ultra settings. However, removing the GPU memory restrictions versus having it on, we didn't really see any difference in FPS whatsoever. However, moving over to Far Cry 5, a pretty intense title. Some people love this game, some people don't. They don't think it's pretty well optimized. Some people say it's pretty good. We're running the in-house game benchmark anyhow, and 1080p ultra settings, 72 average FPS, 65 minimum, and then moving over to Hitman 2, a recently released title as well, 91 average FPS, 84, 1% low, 0.1% low of 83. So this game was running absolutely fine on the GTX 970 at 1080p ultra settings. And then move over to Resident Evil 2. Again, we're getting over 60 average FPS. We're getting quite high, and this is 1080p high settings. Now this game does have a setting to, I guess, utilize more VRAM than usual. So I thought it was interesting to try and get over that 3.5 gigabytes of VRAM usage. However, when I tried to do this, the interesting thing here was that the game was actually kind of capping itself to 3,647 megabytes, shall I say. So it's kind of like in the driver, maybe NVIDIA's done something to hard limit this to only utilize the faster portion of VRAM. And so when we compare that to the slower 512 megabytes, if we were to utilize that, maybe we would have some stuttering and some slowdowns. But since the driver level, I believe something's going on here, especially with Resident Evil 2, what we're seeing here is no stuttering, very good 1% lows and 0.1% lows. Even when we raise those settings, it just slows down the FPS. The 1% and 0.1% lows are still absolutely fine. And then for our last title, we had Shadow of the Tomb Raider, 1080p high settings. We got over 60 FPS here, scoring 62 average FPS. The minimums were 49, so again, it was a very smooth experience, guys. the GTX 970 across those 7 games, it was playing absolutely fine with 1080p with pretty much all the eye candy switched up in 2019. Now, running some synthetics like heaven, we got a score of 3,372 points or 133 average FPS, 1080p high settings. Moving over to Firestrike, we're getting well over 13,000 points on the graphics score, and the physics score, of course, using the 9900K as our test system, we got very high in those scores as well. So this last part now, besides the gaming, I'm actually looking at the Gigabyte G1, the GTX 970 here. This card just impressed me so much. When we move over to the power figures, we got 340 watts power consumption with a 9900K, and this card, the whole time I did this performance review here today, it was overclocked. So the fact is that we're getting great performance out of it. It overclocks very easy, but here's the kicker. When we're testing out the fan speeds, 60% fan speeds, we've got 68 degrees, and this is in summer, so 26-degree ambient temperatures, it's very hot, and we got 36 decibels. So this is pretty much better fan speed noise than all the RTX cards and the Radeon 7 that's come through here. So whatever they did back in 2014 in terms of fan speed efficiency and noise is working very well. And I don't know what's happened in the last few years, but it's great to see this with going to a blast of the past. Even putting the fans up to 80%, we saw a temperature drop to 62 degrees and a decibel level of 47 decibels. So it was still bearable. And then putting the fan speeds up to 100%, saw 50 decibels, but it was starting to get a little bit noisy. So usually in 2018, 2019, I've been recommending fan speeds of 60% for pretty much every card. Here, I don't know whether to recommend 60% or 80% on the Gigabyte G1. So very weird, but auto fan speeds did get up to 64%. So I'd recommend maybe locking in 60%. If you hate noise, if you don't mind better temps, lock in 80% on this particular card. Anyway guys, that's about it for the GTX 970 in 2019. It's still a phenomenal card in terms of how it can perform at 1080p gaming. And the best thing is you can pick these up for a lot of the times under $100 US. If you're in Australia, they go as low as 150 Aussie. If you're into bargain hunting, you can pick them up even lower than that if someone just wants to get rid of one. For instance, this card here, it was came with a PC that got traded into me, so I virtually got this for nothing. So very good pickup. After you give it some tech, yes, loving, it now looks like brand new, and it probably performs better than it did with brand new because we put some better thermal paste on it. So temperatures are really good, performance is really good. I am actually really impressed with how the GTX 970 performs in 2019. If you guys like this video, then you know what to do, hit that like button. Also let us know in the comment section below what you think about the GTX 970. And also, if you want me to test out an older graphics card, let us know in the comment section below what game, what graphics card, and I'll make it happen for you guys. And don't forget to hit that sub button with the notification bell turned on if you want to see these videos as soon as they hit YouTube. And if you want to get an inside scoop before it even gets to YouTube, then check us out on Instagram, Tech Yes City, and I'll catch you in another tech video very soon. Peace out for now. Bye.